Hello family and welcome back. In today's tutorial, I'll be guiding you on how to cut and sew this halter neck pencil dress step by step. So let's begin. Yeah guys, I'll be using this stretcher plain fabric for the dress, and I'll first fold it in this manner to cut both the front and the back parts together. The upper part is for the front and then the lower for the back. And as you can see, I left about 2 inches zipper allowance. What I'm going to do now is to draft a basic pencil dress pattern, and I'll first measure from the top edge, which is my shoulder line. I'll take shoulder line to bust line measurement at 10 inches, and then shoulder line to under bust line measurement at 13 inches, shoulder line to waistline measurement at 16 inches. I'm measuring the second time in order to achieve a straight line. For the hip line, I'll start measuring from the waistline, and I'm measuring 9 inches. And then I'll measure my full length at 38 inches. Remember, I'm also taking the measurement from the shoulder line. And after I'm done guys, I'm now going to square out straight horizontal line, passing through the marked points with a ruler. And once I'm done with that, I'll go ahead to label the lines as BL, meaning bust line, under bust line, waistline, hip line, and then the full length. The next thing is to draw the neckline, whereby I'll measure 2.5 by 2.5 inches. I'll be using 0.5 inches for stitching. That means the neckline will be 3 by 3 inches round after stitching. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Now I'll use a curve ruler to draw the neckline as I'm doing. And that's for the front part guys. For the back, I'll measure 1 inch neck depth, and I'll maintain the 2.5 inches neck width on the front piece. So now I'll again use the curve ruler to draw the neck curve in that manner. From there guys, I want to measure half my shoulder measurement on the shoulder line, which is 14 divided by 2 gives you 7 inches. Then I'll measure 0.5 inches down for the shoulder slope. I'm not using 1 inch this time since I'm working on the actual fabric. I'll now square a line meeting that point from the neck width. And after that, I'll measure half my shoulder measurement again on the chest line, which I haven't drawn. And to get the chest line, take the bust measurement, divide it by 6 plus 1.5. I'll draw a line on that mark indicating the chest line. Now I'll go ahead to measure 7 inches on the chest line, then we'll join it to the shoulder slope with a vertical line. And guys, just to be clear, this armhole isn't useful when drafting a halter neck. I'm doing this for any beginner who might get confused. Next, I'll measure quarter of my bust circumference on the chest line, which is 8.5 inches. And then find the midpoint of the armhole depth, and at that exact point I'll go in by 0.5 inches. So now I'll use a curve ruler again to draw the armhole curve, passing through these 3 marks like this. After I'm done with that, I now want to measure my bust span starting from waistline. In my case it's 7 inches, which gives me 3.5 inches after dividing by 2. I'll do the same on the under bust line as well, and then measure 4 inches down from waistline. I'll measure 3.5 inches on the mark. I'll also measure the bust span on the bust line, then draw a line from the bust line to the 4-inch mark. I'm now going to measure 0.5 inches on each side of the line, and that is from the waistline. Again, I'll measure 1 inch down from the bust line. So those are the points I'll use to draw the dart. Now it's time to put in my body measurements on the drawn line. First, I'll measure quarter of my waist circumference on the waistline, replace 1 inch for the dart, plus another 1.5 inch stitching allowance. Starting from the center front again, I'll measure quarter of my hip circumference on the hip line, that will be the hip circumference divided by 4. But since this is a very stretchy fabric, I'm taking away 1 inch from the total measurements. And I've also added 1.5 inches. And for the full length, I'll take away 1.5 inches from the total measurement I have on the hip line, and we'll mark it there. I'll also add 1.5 inches stitching allowance on the chest line. And having done that, we'll draw the outline of the dress by joining the marks. From the chest line to the waistline, I'll use a straight ruler, but from the waistline to the full length, I'm making use of the hip curve ruler to do that. From there, I now want to draw the halter neck, and we'll draw a curve from the neck width to end of armhole with a curve ruler. This can be done freehand if you don't have a curve ruler. First, I'll measure 0.25 inches on neck width, and that's the point I'll connect the curve to from the armhole. And that's basically how to draw a halter neck, guys. I'm now going to trace the center front on the back pieces. This will be the center back, and then we'll cut out on the outline. And having done that, guys, I'll show you the easiest way I normally copy the dots on the other pieces. I use a pair of scissors to press where I have the dots. This is the easiest way to have accurate and straight dots without measuring again. Then I make them more visible by marking with the chalk. After that, guys, I'll now head over to the sewing machine to stitch the dots on both the front and the back parts. I'm done stitching dots on all these pieces, the front and the back pieces. So what I'm going to do next is to cut out facing for this upper area. And I'll use this piece for that. We'll first fold it into 2 with its wrong side, then put the front part when it's also folded on it. And I'm now going to trace out around the halter neck area and neckline by cutting. I'll also cut out the back facing the same way I did for the front part, then we'll divide it from the folded area. I'm then going to double hem the bottom edges for each facing. Then we'll put the right sides together, that's for the facing and the fabric. And we'll stitch around the halter neckline. After I'm done stitching, I'm going to top stitch on the facing to allow easy folding. And this is what I have after I was done stitching the facing and ironing as well. I did the same on the back pieces too. And on the center back, I just stitched on top of the fabric, not from inside. I now want to put all these pieces back together, and I'll start with the 2 back pieces, whereby I'm placing right sides together. And from there, I'll put the front part on top of the back pieces, and just making sure the halter necklines and side edges align well. Again, I'll draw the center back using the center front like this, from top to bottom. After doing that, I'll now use this zipper to measure where it ends from the top edge, and I'm leaving out 2 inches for the turtleneck. I'm just measuring first and not stitching. So now I know I'm supposed to make loose stitches from top to the mark. We'll back stitch on the mark. Then again, I'll measure 1.5 inches from the bottom edge for folding. I'll go up by 6.5 inches from that mark for the slit. And for now, I'll just loosely stitch the slit area. This is the area where I'll have normal stitches, and this is because it makes work easier when joining the front and the back parts. I'm done joining the 2 back pieces from the line. And just a reminder, I made loose stitches up to this mark, normal stitches here, and loose stitches again on the slit area. I didn't back stitch this top edge since I'll rip it out when fixing the zipper. Another thing, guys, on the waistline I measured about 0.5 inches inward when I was stitching. I didn't stitch in the straight line to avoid bulging of the back. And with that, guys, I'll put back the front and the back pieces together, right side facing each other. Then using my body measurement, I'll stitch on the sides from the armhole area to the bottom edge, and same will apply on this right side. I'm done stitching the sides together, and it's time now to fix the turtleneck on the neckline. To do that, I'll use this small piece, which is about 16.5 inches on the longer side and 2.5 inches width. The neckline is 14 inches, the remaining 2.5 inches will be for stitching allowance. First, I'll rip out the zip area where I loosely stitched on earlier. And we'll also find the midpoint of the front neckline, then notch at that exact point. I'll also go ahead to notch the center of this turtleneck piece. And so now I'm going to match the notches, and then we'll pin down from the midpoint to the other end. After I'm done pinning, I'll head over to the sewing machine to stitch on the pin area with about 0.5 inches that was left when drafting. I'm done stitching. This is what I have. I'll now cut out the excess fabric on the side and also trim off the excess on the stitched area. And here we go, guys. I'll then do one last thing, which is to fix the zipper at the center back. I'll use this long hidden zipper, and I'll stitch it from this top edge to where I marked. And after that, I'll also double hem the bottom edge, but first I'll need to rip out the slit area where I loosely stitched. Guys, this is our final look. I fixed the zipper and also finished the round bottom edge. Please like this video and comment down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Let's meet in our next tutorial.